WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany, tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I have Filey, second release. Yay, a brand new distillery in England, not Scotland, but in the north of England. So there was the first release of 6,000 bottles. They basically took some of the 16 first casks and released that. Then they had the second release. I didn't get a chance to do the first release, I'm sorry. The second release also 6,000 bottles worldwide. Some of them now have made them to Germany through the importer called Schlumberger, a very German name here. And this was apparently basically bourbon cask, and somehow they slipped in a sherry cask, which I find hard to believe. This is the first whiskey I can actually see myself in. I've never been able to do this before, all right? I've never had a whiskey this light. I know there are Islay whiskeys out there that are that light, but I've never had one before, all right? So what I'm going to compare it to is their flagship. This is basically their third release. So after they were looking for their house style, they finally found it. And for some reason, it's totally different. It is first fill bourbon casks. So I did a review of this. This whiskey is very pleasant on the nose, also on the palate at the beginning, and then it kind of turns youthful on you. It's a little bit metallic, a little bit young, so let's see what the second release is all about. I cannot honestly expect it to be better. All right, just real quick, the color here, just to show you, you can see that a little bit, but to pull up here the real evidence. Both natural color, both 46%, both non-chilled filtered. We're running here at 55 euros, and this was 58 euros at the moment, at least here in Germany. They have 2 pot stills, and on the box it's very, very interesting because they tell you the story of the distillery. All right, so they say, first of all, barley is malted. I'm sorry, I have to start at the first part. Follow the lines, Jason. All right, so you see the lines? I started at the top here, and you have to actually start over here on the side. So it starts with 100% homegrown barley from our farm. So Tom Mellor and David Thompson started this. David Thompson, is his farm, I guess. And barley is then malted by steeping, germinating, and kilning. That is all done out externally. And then what they do is they mill, they mash, and they ferment it with chalk-filtered water from deep beneath the Yorkshire wolds. W-O-L-D-S, which I have no idea what that is. So that's all done at the brewery here from Tom Mellor. Then it says here, our new make spirit distilled by hand using our bespoke stills and unique distillation process. Very unique because they do have 2 pot stills. They have a column still in between, so half the year they use that column. And so what they do is in the very first pot still, it's 5,000 liters. They put their wash in there with 8% alcohol. It comes out at 25%. They put it into the column still. They run it through the 4 plates and then put in the second pot still. It comes out about 88, 89%. If they don't use the column still, it comes out at about 75%. So that's what they're doing there. And so that's very unique. And then they're using a lot of refill bourbon barrels. I like first fill bourbon a lot much better, but if you're going to lay down spirit for 10, 20, 30 years, first fill might not be the way to go. As Roy always says, a nice tired old hogshead for a 20, 30-year-old bourbon matured single malt is fabulous. All right. So Dr. Jim Swan had a fingerprint all over this distillery. He is the person who decided we're going to also use STR casks. Somehow they themselves decided they're going to use, I like this picture, by the way, Muscatel casks. So I have 4 of these. These are my, the ones that I'm going to try and review and compare. And what he did is he also has 2 different types of yeast. You have a normal brewer's yeast and you have your special yeast, just like you do at Annandale. Annandale, also Dr. Jim Swan doing exactly the same thing. And so you have a lot of these new distilleries coming up with the fingerprint of Jim Swan on them. He unfortunately died at a much younger age than he should have. And so we very, very miss him, his knowledge and his expertise, not just with the entire process of whiskey making, but especially what wood and casks concerning them. They make about between 12 and 14 casks a week, which is not a lot. So numbers range between 90,000 and 60,000 liters a year, which is not a lot at all. So for an English distillery, it might be okay, but for other, compared to other places, this is almost microscopic. So I'm very happy that I have the chance to try this. On the nose. Ooh, it's young. It's almost a little too young. Now there's a nice honey moment in there. There's a type of lemon citrus moment. And there's a malty with a light oak spice maybe. But there's a lot of that young metallic type of gook coming in as well. Here, much better. I like the flagship on the nose a lot. There was a lot of the honey, a lot of the bourbon, a lot of that citrus, a little bit of the maltiness, perfectly balanced, very, very nice. On the palate, it went, let's see what this does. It's almost like an aquavit. Okay, yes, it's not ready yet. I'm sorry. I do hope that the Muscatel and the STR are better, because otherwise I'm going to have to say wait another 3 to 5 years before trying this whiskey again. There is potential. Do not get me wrong. But if they continue putting out stuff like the second release, and I would have a couple more of those bottles, I could not recommend it to anyone. I'm sorry. This is too much for the price. It's getting there, but it's not yet there, and this is definitely not where it should be. So I would assume that the first release was even less where it could or should have been. All right, they started distilling in May of 2016. So, hey, this was bottled, and was it even bottled in 2019 or 2020? Do I have any type of stamp on this at all? Some distilleries, most distilleries put a laser code on here that tell you when it was distilled. From the Whiskybase number 143810, I'm going to guess it was actually at the beginning of 2020 or even at the end of 2019 that this came onto the market. So this is actually more of a 3-year-old. This is more of a 4-year-old spirit. That is basically 30% longer maturation time, which makes a big, big difference. This is getting a C minus minus. Oh, by the way, what I really thought was interesting was here the lids. I did not even mention those. I think there's like a copper inlay, and maybe this is just older because it's oxidized a little bit and this is newer, or maybe they actually had different colors. I don't know, but I must admit the bottle is beautiful. I like the water down here. You actually have the spirit of Yorkshire Distillery printed into it. Very, very nice. Beautiful color combinations. Highly... I like the design. Great paper they used for this. They have the little gannet, the little bird here all over the place. Very, very well done. I expect big and good things from this distillery in the future, but yet it's interesting to be part of the development, but to put hard-earned money into a bottle that's really not enjoyable, it hurts. Sorry. All right, so WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany. Tell me, please, have you had the opportunity to watch the development of any other distilleries? I'm going to say Rase, while we wait. I'm going to say Kilkeren, work in progress. I'm going to say, over here in Germany, we had something called St. Kilian. We had the 7 spirits of Kilian, and now we have the 7, other 7 new bottles, and then they're going to have the core range. And so it's often, if you're local and you like a distillery, it's also a privilege to watch that distillery change and grow and become something great. If you look back at the beginnings, you're like, oh, well, I like them because I love their philosophy, their ethos, but I did not really love the whiskey as much as I do now. And so good whiskey is from a distillery that has at least, sorry to say this, in my opinion, usually 10 years under the belt. And they have some somewhat older whiskeys starting with 6, 7, 8 years old that can be fantastic. Very seldom is a 3-year-old whiskey right out of the box great. Nick Need is almost great straight out of the box. Rase is not bad either. Here, Atnamochen is also a very interesting distillery, which some people have followed in the last years from Adelphi. So there's a lot of new distilleries out there you could have followed. Please write down in the comments what you have followed, or write down in the comments, that interests me as well, why haven't you followed? Is it the availability? Is it the interest? Is it the taste? What would stop you from following the development of a new distillery? Other people have done it with Coswolds as well, and it's very, very cool and interesting to see what's happening there. All the best to you. Whiskey Jason here. Please like, subscribe, tell others, maybe even share a video or two of mine on social media. It doesn't have to be the ones where I don't really enjoy the whiskey as much as I normally do, but you can do that also. Thank you very much. All the best. Stay safe. Bye-bye.